What a difference a few months makes. Fresh off the massive successes of Top Gun, Maverick, and Twisters, Glen Powell seemed unstoppable. He was the next big thing, the affable, charismatic star everyone was rooting for. So when Paramount announced a $110 million reboot of The Running Man, directed by the visionary Edgar Wright and starring Powell, it looked like a guaranteed blockbuster. A slam dunk. But then, the unthinkable happened. The movie tripped at the starting line, stumbled, and fell flat on its face. With a disastrous opening of just $17 million in the U.S. and a meager $28.2 million worldwide, The Running Man didn't just underperform, it bombed spectacularly. How did a movie with so much going for it, a rising star, a celebrated director, and classic source material fail so badly? Today, we're diving deep into the shocking box office collapse of The Running Man and what it means for Hollywood. Let's set the scene. The Running Man was supposed to be a major holiday season contender. It was adapted from a Stephen King novel written under his pseudonym Richard Bachman. It is a dystopian story about a man forced into a deadly televised race where he is hunted by assassins for a massive cash prize. Sounds exciting, right? With Edgar Wright, the genius behind Baby Driver and Shaun of the Dead, at the helm and Glen Powell's star power, this felt like the perfect recipe for success. It was positioned as the third major tentpole for Powell, solidifying his status as a leading man. But instead of a victory lap, it became a cautionary tale. The first sign of trouble wasn't even about The Running Man itself. It was the surprise success of another film. And stole the top spot, opening to $21.3 million domestically and a whopping $75.5 million worldwide. This completely blindsided The Running Man, which was left in the dust. The Magician movie simply had broader appeal, attracting a wider, more female-driven audience, while The Running Man struggled to attract anyone beyond its core demographic of older males. But the competition is only part of the story. The real problems for The Running Man were happening behind the scenes, deep within the halls of Paramount Pictures. The film was greenlit under the studio's previous leadership. But then, a massive corporate shakeup occurred. David Ellison's team took over, and as often happens in Hollywood, the new bosses inherited a slate of projects they weren't necessarily passionate about. Sources say the new leadership simply wasn't a fan of The Running Man when they saw it. When the people at the very top don't believe in a movie, its chances of success plummet. They're less likely to invest the necessary resources, especially in marketing, to make it a hit. And the marketing was where the film truly got kneecapped. On top of the leadership change at the executive level, there was another major disruption in the marketing department. The studio's global distribution and marketing boss, Mark Weinstock, departed just as the promotional campaign for The Running Man should have been kicking into high gear. His replacement, the highly respected Josh Goldstein, didn't arrive until October 15th, just 1 month before the movie's release. In the crucial interim period, there was chaos. Marketing staffers were in limbo, unsure who to take direction from. And this was all happening while the studio was planning job cuts. Morale was low and crucial decisions were delayed. By the time Goldstein, a marketing guru known for pulling off miracles, got in place, it was almost too late. He tried his best to salvage the campaign, pushing out new trailers that focused on different themes and targeted various demographics. Because the initial trailer's simple concept, the whole world against Glen Powell, just wasn't landing with audiences. But with a fractured and delayed marketing push, the damage was already done. The initial tracking numbers came in 3 weeks before release, projecting a weak $20 million opening. For a film that cost $110 million and had franchise aspiration, that was a disaster. In the end, with the audience data looking grim, the marketing budget was reportedly cut. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. The studio loses faith, cuts marketing, the movie underperforms, and the studio says, "See, we were right." Now, you might think maybe the movie was just bad, but that's not entirely the case. It tested well with audiences, scoring in the high 80s, which is why Paramount initially gave it a prime November holiday release date. The studio even shuffled it around the calendar, trying to find the perfect spot, eventually landing on November 14th, a date known for launching huge hits. And critics didn't hate it either. It actually had better reviews than the movie that beat it, Now You See Me 3, holding a 64% fresh score on Rotten Tomatoes. Both films received the same B+ cinema score from audiences who did see them. So, what gave? Why did one succeed and the other fail so spectacularly? It comes down to a few key factors. First, audience appeal. Now You See Me 3 was PG-13, family-friendly, and appealed to a broad audience, particularly women. The Running Man was R-rated, darker, and its sci-fi action premise skewed heavily male, specifically men over 25, who made up nearly half the audience. Post-exit polls showed that Glen Powell himself was only the third reason. People went to see the movie after it looked fun and exciting and the sci-fi genre itself. This suggests that while he's a popular actor, he might not yet be a star who can open a movie on his name alone, especially not an R-rated one. Both of his previous mega hits, Top Gun and Twisters, were PG-13. One person close to the production was quick to defend him, saying, "Running Man shouldn't be seen as a referendum that Glen Powell can open a movie." And they have a point. Powell is known for being incredibly hands-on and dedicated, deeply involved in promoting his films. He truly cares about the final product. And interestingly, his appeal to Middle America did show, with the film playing evenly across the country rather than just in coastal cities where sci-fi usually performs best. This wasn't a failure of Glen Powell, it was a failure of strategy, marketing, and studio support. The failure also highlights a bigger, more worrying trend in Hollywood, the curse of the 80s sci-fi reboot. The Running Man joins a growing list of failed attempts to revive cult classics from that decade. We saw it with Tron, which cost a fortune and barely made its money back, and with Blade Runner 2049, a critically acclaimed masterpiece that still struggled at the box office. It seems that nostalgia for these properties is limited to a small, dedicated, and mostly older male fan base. It's not enough to support a massive blockbuster budget. The one exception, of course, is Dune, but that was based on a legendary novel, not just a cult film. This leads to the most obvious question of all: why remake The Running Man in the first place? The original 1987 Arnold Schwarzenegger version wasn't even a massive hit back then. It was seen as a minor entry in his filmography. So, if the original wasn't a phenomenon, why did anyone think a reboot would be? The collapse of The Running Man is a perfect storm of Hollywood dysfunction. It's a story of bad timing, corporate chaos, marketing missteps, and a fundamental misunderstanding of the audience. It is a harsh lesson that you can't just slap a rising star and a cool director onto an old property and expect a hit. In today's post-pandemic, post-strike landscape, audiences are more selective than ever. A movie needs a clear identity, a killer marketing campaign, and unwavering studio belief to succeed. The Running Man had none of that. And now, it stands as a grim warning to the rest of the industry. The 80s might be back in fashion, but when it comes to the box office, nostalgia just isn't what it used to be. What do you think went wrong? Was it the marketing, the R rating? Or is Hollywood just overdoing it with the reboots? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Thanks for watching. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the world of film. See you next time.